We saw last week Perek Chof, which is the Mishkala Chasidus, which is the Mesillas Yesharim guiding us as to the pitfalls of when one takes the concept of Chasidus and tries to apply it to oneself. It's a very dangerous endeavor. It's a necessity. We have to do it, but it's a high risk endeavor because it's not clearly defined, and every person has to define it for himself. We ended off with the Mishnah in Brachos where Reb Tarfon leaned when he said Kriya Shema at night, and his friends told him you should have died. That was worthy of dying because he went like Beis Shammai. He was machmir Beis Shammai, who said you have to lean during Shema at night. So the question is, what did Reb Tarfon do that was so bad that was warranting of the death penalty? So the Mesillas Yesharim explains that if we understand the historical context of the time, it was this tremendous machlokes ripping apart Klal Yisrael, Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai. And there had to be a hachra, there had to be a decision. Who do we follow? And that's going to preserve the unity of Klal Yisrael. So for Tarfon to be machmir, what's the big deal? We said, according to Beis Hillel, you could also lean. It's not against the halacha to lean according to Beis Hillel, but since that is giving some validation to Beis Shammai Shita in a halacha l'maisa way, his friends, the other Tanaim, felt that it's worthy of the death penalty. So when a person tries to take on something in the realm of Hasidus, one has to be very, very careful and see the noilet, see where it's going to lead. It might seem very good right now, but be very careful as to the ramifications. Perek Chof Aleph is B'darkei Kniyas HaChasidus, acquiring piety, which is those things that one should embrace in order to help him get towards Hasidus. And what are those things that a person should push away that detract from Hasidus? So there's basically three ideas that bring a person, help a person come close to Hasidus. One is, says the Mesillas Yesharim, and it's all about hisbonenus. It's all about contemplation, right? Meaning the classic mistake I think that many yeshiva bachur make in a Musar Seder, specifically with Mesillas Yesharim, is they learn the Sefer, they absorb the information, and they go weiter. But so much of the Sefer is dependent on contemplation. The person has to be misboinen, as we'll see. So the first step in trying to involve oneself in activities that will bring him towards Hasidus is Yarbe ha'adam lehisboinen al goydel ramamusa yisbarach v'tachlis shlemusa. The person must contemplate HaKadosh Baruch Hu's greatness, how great the Kadosh Baruch Hu is. V'roiv ha'herchik how bilti mishoyar shebein gedulasoi u'bein shifluseinu. And then contemplate, where am I holding, and see the distance between where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is and where I am. And a person appreciates that difference, that'll lead him yigrom loy she'imale yira v'ra'adam ilafanav. He'll have fear, he'll tremble, but not in a paralyzing way, we always say. He'll be in awe, he'll understand the greatness of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, us just sitting here today, davening, coming to the Shiur, eating breakfast, going home, we're not going to understand the greatness of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. If I ask you, is Hashem great? Yeah. Is there anything greater than him? No. It's the greatest thing in the world. That's not enough, says the Mesillas Yesharim. We have to sit. I mean, it sounds like I don't want to say babyish, but it sounds, like, come on. You expect me to sit in a room by myself and just think about how Hashem is so great? And yeah, that's what one has to do. In order to really drive that point home into oneself, one has to actually sit there by himself in a room and be misboinen about the goydel or mamusa, how great a Kadosh Baruch Hu is, and how low we are, and see that difference, and have that fear. Number two, b'hisboinenoi al roiv chasad v'imanu. Contemplation of the chesed that a Kadosh Baruch Hu does with us. That we're able to sit here and we could walk. And we can see. It's unbelievable. We can see. Not everyone can see. We did a Mishnah yesterday in Daf Shvua, Megillah Daf Chavdal, about a person who's never been able to see in his life. If holds he can't say Yotzim Oiris, he can't be Paris Al Shema, he can't see. So we were discussing, could you explain to a blind person what sight is? You can't. It's such a gift that if a person never experienced it, you can't explain to him what it is. Right? So if you preach the Baruch Hashem, we can see. You can see something. You can hear, you can walk, you can talk. So a person must be misboinen al roiv chasadav imanu v'al goydel ahavasi yisbarach l'Yisrael. And the tremendous love that the Kadosh Baruch Hu has towards Klal Yisrael. So it's in the first point of contemplation, it's goydel ramamusa, it's how great the Kadosh Baruch Hu is and how low we are in the difference between ourselves and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that fills us with fear. The second thing is the chesed and the ahava, the love. And he finishes off by saying in this paragraph, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kibur Oiseh Shabar Yisbarach Ulanu La'av Mamish. Hashem is like a father. Umerachim Aleinu Ka'av Al Bar, and He has mercy, He has empathy on us, like a father to a child. Yisar Boi Behemshech HaChevetz V'Atshuka L'Igmo Lo Yikben El Aviv. Then we will have a desire to treat HaKadosh Baruch Hu like our father. So you see that being a parent is two things you have to instill in your children. They have to have the fear of you, and they also have to have the love. They have to recognize that a parent is a moichiach. A parent is there to chastise his child, to put on the proper derech, but also, obviously, the parent also shows the love for the child. The child sees both those things, he's going to reciprocate. That's same with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's the first two. Then the Mesillas says quite a practical eitzah. He writes, "V'chein toyel hakriya b'sipur ma'aseh chasidim." To read, to expose oneself to stories of chasidim. Ba'agados asher bo'u sham, in the Gemaras, the Gadatos, Yichol elu ma'orim es haseichel hisyaitz v'lasos k'ma'aseyim anachmadim ezem avur. When you read stories about what the Gedolim did, about what the Tanaim did, the Gemaras and even the Achronim, that instills in a person a desire to be like them. There's some say that a biography of a tzaddik, of a gadol, can be a Musar Seder. You see what he does with the famous method of Moshe Feinstein, that the person closed the door in his hand. So it's not to embarrass him, he didn't say anything, he the whole time, 5 minutes car with his hand on the door. Things like that. Okay, so I'm not going to do that necessarily, but that, I'm going to try to emulate that. It's going to plant the seed in my mind. Yesterday we said over, we had a baby, a bris in the shul yesterday. First bris in the shul. Baby's name is Noyam Zusha. So he said over Shal Shul, there's a few stories from a position from Annapolis. There's the famous Maisa. Was anyone here? No,
yeah.
You were here, okay. But the Roy weren't here, so I can say it real quickly because it's a Geshmaka story about recognizing Kadosh Baruch Hu, whatever he does is for the best. Kids are a position and Elimelech end up in jail. And the problem is that what was a jail cell back then? It was a cell with 30 men and a chamber pot in the middle of the room. That was the bathroom, a bowl. And the physician was crying because he can't learn, he can't daven. The physician was always happy, he was crying. So his brother, the Noam Elimelech, says, "Why are you crying? I can't learn, I can't daven, I can't say Tehillim." He says, "What do you mean?" There's the halach in Shulchan Aruch that says that when there's tzoya there, you're not allowed to learn, you're not allowed to daven. So every second you're sitting here, you're fulfilling a mitzvah. You're not fulfilling Shulchan Aruch every second you're sitting here. The physician was so happy, he started dancing. Not only that, he picked up the bowl with the tzoya and started dancing with it because this was giving him Olam Haba. This is Mamash B'Mekayim Ratzon Hashem. All the goyim in the prison thought these Jews are crazy, and they started clapping and dancing as Meshuggah Jews. The guard hears it outside. He comes. What's all the ruckus? The Jews, they worship the chamber pot. That's what they tell the warden. He says, "What? Give that to me." He takes the chamber pot. He cleans it out. He puts it back in. He says, "If it ever gets dirty, you knock on the door. I'm going to take it. I'm going to clean it right away." So they were able to learn afterwards. But what does that story do? Right, we're going to see someone dancing today. But someone wants to say that's why the Shtibel's problems with the piping maybe was. But the idea of that story is, okay, whatever happens is for the best. That story plants a seed in a person's mind that, okay, so I think this is a horrible situation, but it's what a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants. That's what I want as well. So it's very important that the stories of tzaddikim, of Hasidim, of how they acted is a way to instill within us Hasidus. Those are the three things that bring towards Hasidus. His boyness in how great a Kadosh Baruch Hu is, how much chesed he gives us, and reading the stories of the tzaddikim of Hasidim. What detracts from Hasidus? Says the Mesillas Yesharim, Ha'anois v'tanugim shem havchiyim mamish el Hasidus. Hana and tiny. Getting involved in this pleasure, this world, is one that pulls us away. It's Moshe that pulls our hearts away from his boyness. Tirda and Daiga as well, he says. The second thing is the person gets consumed with all his daigas, his worries about this world, about how he's going to do this and do that. And he gets consumed with worry and grief, and that he can't be misboinen, and that detracts from Chasidus. So he says, what's the remedy? What's going to stop, what's going to help a person not get pulled away by these things, by the tirdas and the daiga, by the worry of this world and by the tanugim, the hana? Bitachon. Which fits into the story of the position again. It's bitachon. A person has bitachon in the Kadosh Baruch Hu that whatever happens to me, it's for my best. Whatever's in my control, I exert my control on that. And I try to do my best and I take care of it. Whatever's not in my control, so it's not in my control. It's what a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants. I did this to try to, whatever it was, to try to get to minyan on time. I did this. It didn't work. It's in a Kadosh Baruch Hu's hands. I put in my ishtadlus, do what I can. After that, it's up to Kadosh Baruch Hu. If a person has that mindset, it'll free him up from tirda and daigi. He's not going to have tirda and daigi. He might get fired. Listen, I did my ishtadlus in my parnasa. Right? If that happens, so harbe shluchim l'makom. There are many messengers Kadosh Baruch Hu can send for a person's parnasa. This is what I did for my chinuch habanim. I put all my efforts. The kid has a bechira chavish. What happens after that? It's up to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So these are the concepts that will bring us closer to Chassidus, or Chas v'Shalom push us further away from Chassidus. So let's see, what's going to be our project for this week? Okay, our project is going to be 30 seconds of thinking about a Kodesh Baruch Hu, the greatness of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And that's it does for us. 30 seconds a day. Not a lot of time. On the way home, you can walk into your garden. That's our project. Okay, shkoyach.